It was, I remember them saying, wisdom in the council. We're all after
Welcome, everybody. It's good to see people in person. We might be getting back to some sort of normalcy here pretty quick. So we are running a little bit late. Sorry about that. We do have a quick topic on the work session that we need to do because it's going to be dependent on an action item on our regular meeting. So we're going to table one of them, the library landscape project. We talked with the folks that are going to be here to talk about that with us. So we're going to table that until our next meeting. And we're going to hear real quick about the B-Camp, the Virginia Canyon Mountain Park Trails construction update. It is 7:55 and we are into our work session. So John Kane, will you take this?
Mayor, I know John's working on some technical issues here. So what I would suggest is that we move the Virginia Canyon Trails project work session item
We'll just move
to
it
planning.
Okay.
On the regular meeting agenda.
Okay, it is 7:55. We're going to start our regular meeting. It is June 28th, 2021, our regular scheduled city council meeting. Welcome everybody again. Good to see everybody. And can I have a roll call, please?
Michael Hillman.
Here.
Scott Pennell.
Here.
Jeff Herman.
Here.
Bob Boland.
Here.
John Curtis.
Here.
Art Picavalli.
Here.
Jim Clark.
Here. And please stand with us for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. We have an agenda in front of us tonight, and I have not heard of any amendments that we need to do for tonight. So can I have a motion, please?
I'd move to approve the agenda for June 28th, 2021 meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second discussion.
What about the amendment? Planning the trail, adding the trail.
Okay. Good catch. We will discuss the B-Camp trail construction, and we'll put that under, let's see, planning. Okay. You never had anything under planning. Okay, thanks for that. And do I have a motion with the amendment?
I would move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second. And discussion. And all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll move to, does anybody besides Jim have a conflict of interest tonight? Look at my bills. All right, Jim's Allied Towing's got a bill on our agenda tonight, so we know how to do those motions. So we will move down to the approval of the minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes from June 14th of 2021.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a minor correction on there about a little over halfway down. I made the motion to approve resolution number 12, series 2021, and it was Bob Boland who seconded. And that was the amendment for 1628 Virginia Street.
Okay. All right, thanks, Chuck. Any other items we need to Jim said? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, let's move to the bills. And do I have a motion?
I move to approve the bills except Allied Towing to June 28th, 2021.
And do I have a second?
I second it.
Motion is second. All right, discussion. We're looking at you, Art. Everybody-
I don't really have any, I can get to it, I know it's that we, there's a lot of time, I don't have any objection, there's just one on here that I just don't understand, it's for, quite a bit of money, $84,000.
What page, please?
It's, that corporation is on page 4, number 94908834417. I just don't know what that, I would just like, if this is not the time, somebody else can explain another time.
And
But
John,
then-
Bordoni, this is gonna be a public water, I mean, a water and wastewater,
Module.
you know, module water treatment plant,
Yeah.
motor assembly, that's probably on one of the pumps.
Yeah.
Is that one of the pumps they
I'm
rebuilt?
sorry, where was that at? I didn't. hear.
Page 4.
Page 4.
Yeah, page 4, second item on page 4,
That
John. Film
question,
tech,
I just question, I don't know what that, what it means.
It has two like $40,000 modules.
Honestly, I would have to find out exactly what that is. I'm not sure why it's coded module. Well, I do, actually, I take that back. That is part of the water filtration assemblies that council had approved earlier in the year. That's what those are for.
Okay.
because we had one for the water treatment plant and they're both for the water treatment plant.
Right.
Yeah, that's all for the water treatment.
Okay.
I guess on page 5, under Mayberry, sounds like a TV show, Mayberry and Company, we had 5 audits, came to $11,500. Is that?
Yeah, that's our auditor.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, can I have a roll call?
Michael Hillman.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Jeff Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
And do I have a motion for Allied Towing Bill?
I'll move to approve the bills to June 28th, 2020 for Allied Towing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second, discussion. What was it, like $75 or something?
Yeah.
66.
Yeah.
All right,
141.
any other discussion? Roll call.
Michael Hillman.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Jeff Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Okay, under scheduled public comment, Greg Markle donation. Greg's got-
He was, he couldn't stay out in the cold much longer because of his lungs. He has a nice map, an older map of the city. He was gonna donate, sent a nice frame and everything. I don't know how old it is, but it's old.
Okay,
He said he'd be back though.
okay, cool. All right, thanks, Greg. And everybody in your packet received a letter from the CCDC regarding the 1628 Virginia project, right? Okay, do I have any unscheduled public comment? Thanks, John. Okay. Mr. Andrew Peters. Come up and state your name, please, and where you reside, and we'll give you 3 minutes to address council.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm Andy Peters. I'm counsel for Habitat for Humanity. I reside at 950 17th Street, Suite 1600. That's in Denver, AO202. I'm here tonight to request reconsideration of your decision on the 1628 Virginia Townhome project. I recognize that as a land use practitioner across the state, that it can be helpful, and certainly it is important for council to hold developers to high standards, to hold projects to high standards. But there are also legal limits on the things that councils can require. CRCP 106A4, the Regulatory Impairments of Property Rights Act, and even the US Constitution limit local governments to what their own codes require. And I understand that in voting on this project a couple weeks ago, that there were folks who were for, there were folks who were against. But I think that there was agreement that this project met the requirements. And those rules, those laws that I had just cited, limit local governments to those requirements. Now, if you were to move to reconsider tonight, you would still have the opportunity for future projects to revise your code, to see what you want for this town, to make sure the development complies with that vision. But at the same time, the development that was before you 2 weeks ago was required to comply with the code as it existed then. Just as certainly the law requires the town to uphold the code as it existed, I'd certainly hope that you will take a second look at this as your code allows you to do. Thank you again for your time. If you have any questions for me, I'm certainly happy to answer them, but I realize that you're on the record that you had. So again, please take 1 second look at this, and I hope that you'll comply with the code as it existed 2 weeks ago. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. All right, Christina Weinke. State your name and where you reside, please.
My name is Christina Weinke, and I reside at 1606 Wall Street, Idaho Springs, 80452, right here in beautiful Idaho Springs. And I'm here to address you about the Habitat for Humanity bill. I chose this town to live in for the quality of life that it offers. I wasn't aware that the code did not uphold to what the Habitat bill is, but I think that there's more to look at in everyday life and where you live and how you make the rules and how you build it up in the community than just the black and white code. There are people here that care about this community. There was even more people standing outside for over an hour to talk to you guys tonight because it's an important issue. And I want to know if this goes through and it gets passed and I hit somebody with my truck coming down an icy slope, what is my legal recourse here? Who's responsible for that? If I do damage to my vehicle because a building is creating a blind corner on my driveway and my street to get into the home that I own, where's the legal recourse in that? Where's the moral recourse in that? I really urge council that represents me as a tax-paying citizen of this community to come to an agreement with the community that you represent and Habitat. And don't just take it as black and white. We stuck to the code because you know what, when someone gets hurt, a tourist that we invited to our town, a child that we said they had a safe home to live in a community-based program, or even a dog, you know, like you have to consider all of that. And that isn't considered in the code right now. I strongly urge you guys to update your code before this happens again. And if we don't have a space for council to say yes or no, why do we have a council? Why don't we just have a planning committee? That's all I got to say.
Thank you. All right, next, Cole Dolph. State your name and where you reside, please.
My name is Cole Dolph. I live at 1606 Wall Street.
Can you spell your last name, please?
DOLP as in Paul H.
Thank you.
All right. Am I good to go?
Yes.
All right. I'm extremely upset. I feel extremely disrespected. I got off of work tonight. There was no indication of any of this is happening. I don't really know what's going on. It seems shady. I understand we had a meeting that we all attended and, you know, this got voted down and then all of a sudden there was no documentation. Nobody told any of us, the people who live right there, that this meeting was going to happen. It's extremely shady. It really is. Nobody told anybody. I had to get off work. We've been standing out there for an hour, you know, just to get in here to try to say something, to talk to you. I don't know what's going on with you guys, the Habitat for Humanity, you guys want to say you want to like give people and set people up for success. You guys aren't looking at any of the concerns. You guys are just going to call legal. It's really disrespectful, it really is. You guys are calling green space 12 feet up. There's literally a 12 feet retaining wall up, and that's where you're calling green space for children. You want children to play there, and then you know that's just gonna put them all in the intersection, in that dangerous intersection. There is no stopping coming down that hill. I don't, what's that hill at, like a 27% grade? It's crazy. And it's just, it's shady. You guys aren't trying to help build up the community at all. It's not even affordable. I'm the assistant kitchen manager at the Main Street restaurant. I can't afford that. What is it, like $300,000 with $150,000 I can't even default on? I'm a person, I'm not just like a line cook in this town even. I'm the assistant kitchen manager at the Main Street restaurant, one of the busiest kitchens, and I can't afford it. What's affordable? You're just trying to shove buildings there. You're gonna create my driveway super icy. My driveway's sunny right now. It melts. It's nice, and it's a gravel, steep, damn grade. And it's not gonna melt because y'all want to put this building here. And you're creating a huge safety concern. And let alone, it's just disrespectful to the whole community. You know, give us no warning and have us sit out there for an hour to try to push through. You told us, you said it outside, you had $300,000 invested in this. We're not worried about the community, you're worried about $300,000. You're worried about money. You're worried about the money in your pockets. It's the most disgusting non-for-profit thing I've ever seen. Really don't know how y'all live with yourselves, truth be told. But yeah, I'm just really in awe at, you know, this is such a nice community. And I would like to be treated with more respect and given more notice. I haven't even eaten today. I've been working all day. Now to show up and wait outside for an hour.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, okay, Michael Castrobaum,
Thank you.
state your name and where you reside, please.
Michael Castenbaum, I reside at 1702 Virginia Street. I'm finding this a little remarkable. I'm new here, and I'm kind of amazed by this. A couple weeks ago, I was really impressed that you all listened to the people. A lot more people would be here if they had known about this happening today. I guarantee you that. I'm a teacher, I'm a filmmaker, I'm very much an activist, and I've worked for Habitat in many places all over the world. I'm amazed by Habitat, actually, that they're moving this forward also without really giving consideration to all the people that are neighbors of that property. I'm actually amazed that Habitat, forgetting about whatever you're all stuck doing possibly because of, I'm guessing what went on in the hour while we were out there, I'm guessing that you were being told that you maybe have to vote for this. That's what it sounds like from Andrew. I guess if you have to, you have to. Hopefully you won't, even if you have to. Hopefully you won't, because it's the right thing to do. Because every single resident around the Habitat Project is against that project. They're not against a version of that project. They're really not. Even Christina, who's very vocal, is willing to support the project in a certain approach to the project. And we all are. And that's why I wrote that thing a couple weeks ago after talking to people, because we actually came up with a few solutions. And I reached out to Kathleen and I said, hey, maybe Habitat can listen to the people, the residents, hear them, get together with them. Every single resident, every one that I talked to is against it as it is right now. Change it a little bit. Habitat should change it a little bit. If you're all stuck voting for this, I'm sorry, that's a bummer. And I hope you can choose not to anyway. So that's it. Listen to the people. They're all against a version of this, and they're for another version of this. Let's get that version, okay? Habitat will be happy. Kathleen and Habitat can be happy. I know I'm probably over my time, but I'm kind of amazed, and I want to say one other thing, which is $300,000 is what, if that's what Habitat is concerned about, easy to find somebody to pay Habitat $300,000 for that piece of land. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Rick Scott?
Wasn't ready to come, wasn't dressed to come, but here I am. Rick Scott, 1548 Wall Street. Been here 42 years. You get 3 minutes still, is that cool? Okay. It's a dangerous intersection. You guys are adding danger to it. Once the structure is built on that site, 16th Street cannot be straightened out or made safe. The only way 16th Street and the intersection at Virginia can be made safe is if they take 16th Street right below where they live and they go eastbound at a slant and come out towards 17th. That's the only way. Once the structure is on this site, there's nowhere else to go. We'll have a 20% grade. And I slid through that intersection out into Colorado Boulevard 3 times last year. You can't stop there. That's in the winter. In the summer with the loose gravel, it ain't that much better. I don't want to hit a kid. We're all for affordable housing. My kids need affordable housing, but I told them don't apply for this because I don't want my grandkids to get hurt down there. And there's a chance somebody's going to get seriously injured down there. And if we don't need it, if the city council can't say no on this, then why do we have a city council? Let's just go city council, then planning commission, and then, okay? I don't believe that. You can't say no if you believe that this is not a good idea. Okay, they made all the codes. The codes are old, but they made them. But just because you can build somewhere doesn't mean you should build somewhere. There's morals and ethics in this whole thing, and it seems to nobody seems to give a crap about that. There's mitigating circumstances that you can use to say no. If they put $300,000 into this project and they didn't address that intersection and that 20% grade, that's their fault. They put the cart in front of the horse. You didn't do it. I didn't do it. The kid that's going to get injured didn't do it. I think it would be a great parking lot there myself. You close off Virginia between 17th and 16th and have that whole place a parking lot and straighten out 16th Street towards 17th. What about, I'm not sure if this is a done deal, but the units that are supposed to go down at the football field, I'm not sure where that's at legally. But you might want to, Habitat can go piggyback on them maybe. Have it all down there, work with them, the developer down there. And that's all I got to say, man. It's just a bad idea. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mr. Scott. Okay, that's all of our scheduled, unscheduled public comment for tonight. And we will move to our next item. We will now put on our liquor license authority hat, and we will be looking at the application for the liquor sales room. In our packets, there is a request, and I had to ask some questions because I didn't know what mead was. Does anybody else know what mead is?
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah. Is that after 2 or 3 of them, or? What it looks like is Slaymaker Cellars is wanting to be able to operate this type of business at 1535 Minor Street. If you're not familiar with that property, it has a CPA office in there. I think it's got Kind Mountains in there. So it's got different office spaces in there. This is not a decision for a liquor license for the city council. This is just us making a recommendation to approve back to the state liquor authority. So with that, does anybody have any questions? Okay.
Pretty straightforward. It's a retail operation,
Right.
essentially. And
The only thing that we need to look at is on the application. It says the town of Idaho Springs or the city of Idaho Springs.
The applicant is here if you'd like to address.
Sure. Yes, we'll hear from you. Come up to the podium, please, and state your name.
Kim Slaymaker.
And I'm Chris Slaymaker.
And you reside.
At 2036 Virginia Street.
Okay, thank you. Just kind of tell us what your intentions are and what kind of business this is going to be.
Sure, so you expressed curiosity of what meat is. Just to be clear, it legally is wine. So make wine happens to be made from honey instead of grapes. That's really the only difference. We currently have a legal winery production space at our house. Actually, already previously moved over a year ago. So in operation, selling wholesale to businesses and restaurants already. The idea is to have a sales room and tasting room on Minor Street. So at the 1535 location, small samples for people adhering to code. There's a description of the amounts and stuff in your packet, I think. And just closed bottle sales to go, not a on-premise like wine bar type of situation. As you said, just a retail shop really.
Okay. All right, council, any questions that you'd like to pose to the Slaymakers?
Yeah, I do have one. I'm familiar with the building. I was just wondering what part of the old theater is what it is and how many square feet roughly.
It is the space that Fall River Botanicals used to
Okay,
be in there,
All
so I
right.
do that.
okay,
So a separate entrance from all the businesses you mentioned a moment ago.
great.
All right, any other questions for the Slaymakers? All right, thank you, and thanks for addressing council.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'd move that we approve the Slaymaker Sellers application for a liquor sales room to the Liquor Licensing Authority.
And do I have a second? All right, last chance for discussion, council. All right, can I have a roll call, please?
Michael Hillman.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right. You've been approved. Thank you for coming in. We will now move to our planning and community development. With this, as we said, we're going to go ahead and discuss the VCamp Trails construction update. That's on our work session. So, Mr. Kane.
Mayor and Council, earlier this year, we were awarded grants from GOCO and CPW, which is Great Outdoors Colorado and Colorado Parks and Wildlife, to construct trails in Virginia Canyon Mountain Park. Originally, we had plans to build biking trails and hiking trails, but the hiking trail portion has been delayed a little bit due to some funding. We still have both grants available to us, and we also have a fund of money that was dedicated to trail use in the city. There's about $29,000 left in the fund. The reason that we wanted to build a hiking trail in VCamp really dates back to COVID-19. And we started looking at recreational opportunities close to home in Idaho Springs that people didn't have to drive through. And we found that we don't have a lot of those opportunities for people. We have the Greenway Trail, and we have some informal hiking trails that people can go to. This would be a 7-mile trail that exists right in the heart of our community that everybody in this community could get to potentially without a car. If you need a car, you could drive down there too, but it's somewhere within our community that people can recreate in this area, which is kind of closed off right now. It creates a foundation through that park for future work. And this particular project doesn't require a lot of capital maintenance in the future to make sure that it can be maintained. It can be maintained with volunteers. It's going to be a lot of clearing trails and making sure that everything is functional and that people are following the rules. Staff would really like to have council consider whether or not we could build this trail. We have an RFP that we have created with Comba, who we entered an MOU with earlier this year to manage this construction. And we'd like to look at this for 2 reasons. One is that these grants are actually very competitive and difficult to get from Great Outdoors Colorado and Colorado Parks and Wildlife. And it would be a shame to lose our good standing with them for future projects. It also gives that really good recreational amenity close to home that we can construct this year for people. And it's something that makes VCamp really an accessible destination for our community. It doesn't rely on any development at the Argo to happen. We have permanent easements across their property one way or another, so it makes sure that everybody can get in there and enjoy what that place is, which is beautiful. And it's something that I think all residents of the city should be able to enjoy. We were looking at the budget. In that original money that we got from Feast on the Creek, we did use some of it to pay for the addendum to the trail plan that we did last year. So I think that it's fair to say we have about $29,000 in that account. We are allowed to use in-kind match for this to account for some of the construction costs and the matching costs for the grant. Gary from Comba's here, and they have offered us a lot of in-kind services that we can utilize to make this work. I think that we could get these trails built for no more than $7,000 from city funds right now. We do have a grant fund that could be used for this purpose, and it may end up that this is actually much cheaper than $7,000. It could be, it just depends on how creative we're able to do with that in-kind kind of construction schedules and how quickly we're able to get this construction going. I don't know if you'd like to hear from Gary, he's here. If you have anything you'd like to hear from him, or if you have any further comments for me, I'd love to answer questions or anything like that.
One thing I'd just say is we were awarded these grants and they've been put on hold because of the matching funds that have not been available to the city. As John said, these grants are very competitive. This is actually our second round that we had to go to be able to get the funding for these trails. And I think that all council will agree that B-Camp was a good project, benefits our community. And for $7 grand that we have enough in-kind, in-kind and money from 2 fundraisers to help us pay for it. I think it would be good for the city to go ahead and move forward with this and then use the other money that has been promised to the city to use that as a match for additional funding and additional grants moving forward. Anybody else?
Agreed.
I was already concerned about losing these grants and we're gonna have to give them back. So I'm glad that John and Gary came up. Thank you, Gary, for coming up with the ideas to be able to figure out how to move this thing along with very little cost out of the city coffers at this point.
So this caps what the city budget will allow then? Does put a cap on it?
I wrote it that way, sir, just to say, I don't think we need more than $7,000 for this project.
Is it last 7,020?
Yeah, I would say not to exceed 7,100.
Yeah.
And not counting, using the Feast on the Creeks money, the other 29,000 from that, which is dedicated to this project.
I mean, if it did, then we'd have to come back to council and ask for that money.
Yeah, that's a lot of bang for the buck. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mike, I was wondering if we give Gary a chance if he wants to say anything.
I don't want Gary to speak.
Yeah.
Do you have anything? No, Gary, do you have any? I know that you're the one that came in and talked to Andy and John and says, we really should start moving on this before we lose this money. So anything else you would like to say to the cause?
No, I think they've explained it really well. I think the initial plan for these first 2 grants was always to build these sets of trails. It's outlined in the budget. The $400K from the Argo would have built additional trails in that system above and beyond what we're calling phase 1. But the funding for phase 1 has always been as it's planned now. There hasn't been any deviation. It did not ever require Argo funding for that. And, back to the very beginning of our steering committee meetings, Alan said in every single meeting that our first priority was to build the hiking trails as a city amenity. And that's exactly what we're trying to pursue here.
And the other thing about this is our first grant didn't go through because CPW and GOCO thought that we were relying on the gondola to access these trails. And then when we went back and said, no, we're building this trail.
It's actually 2 rounds where CPW kept us from getting the funding. So it was the 3rd time's the charm.
Oh, the 3rd round for CPW.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of the gist of why this action item should be on the agenda.
Without Gary's hard work and volunteer hours that they put in, that's the big part of this. And I want to say thank you for all your efforts.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right, work session's over with.
So Mayor, just to clarify, the GOCO grant will be accepted by a resolution because that's required by GOCO, and then the CPW grant will be accepted by an action item under my report.
Okay.
That's where you'll see those 2 grants.
All right, sounds good. Do I have a motion for resolution 13?
So city attorney first.
Oh. Sorry, Carmen, I was gonna skip by you. We never have you on the agenda. We will move to the city attorney.
I
Carmen?
know. That's okay. That was sort of organic, the way that naturally moved on to that item. It's perfectly okay. Mayor and council, what you see on the agenda and what's been noted already in public comment is a request to reconsider your June 14th motion and vote on the 1628 Virginia Street FDP. Procedurally, just to be very clear here, the time period to reconsider a motion that passes for a legislative body, there's a very small window for that to occur. In other words, you couldn't look back 2 months from now or 2 months before now or last year and reconsider formally, have it so redo, so to speak, on a motion that is quite old and stale in that way, but for a finite amount of time, which is the same meeting or the very next, any motion and vote that you take could be reconsidered formally and redone. There's sort of one chance, one small window of opportunity to do that. You have received, as you know, as Mr. Peters presented, and you heard other public comment on, you received a request to reconsider that June 14 motion. It's sort of a two-step process. The first step is the motion to reconsider. If anybody on the prevailing side of that June 14th motion, and as we know, that was a 4-3 motion. So if any of the 4 council members who voted no on that FDP on resolution number 12 choose to make a motion to reconsider it, that motion to reconsider would then be subject to a second, and then you would all vote on it. If a majority of you voting on that motion to reconsider vote yes, that doesn't mean you're voting yes on the project. That doesn't mean you're voting to change your mind. It means you're voting to go back in time, essentially, to June 14th and put yourselves as a council back at the moment after Councilor Harmon's motion to approve resolution number 12 was made, was made and seconded. So again, if the motion to reconsider is made and approved, you go back in time to June 14th after that motion is made. At that point, then council, you have all the items on the menu on the list of legislative and parliamentary actions that you ordinarily have available on any motion. The motion could be amended, the motion could be tabled, the motion could be voted upon as is, it could be continued, it could be withdrawn, it could be any number of things, again, and could simply be voted on as is again. But the first step in even getting back to that point, if that step is even taken, is the motion to reconsider. I'm happy to answer any procedural questions that you might have. Also, to be real clear for the record and for those listening, because I know there are many people who are interested. What you're being asked to do this evening is, again, to just reconsider that motion. And again, deliberate if you want and visit amongst yourselves and vote again on that motion or whatever motion might get tweaked or changed or who knows what. You are not being asked, nor can you conduct another public hearing tonight. As duly noted, it hasn't been queued up for that. There's no notice of that. We're not, you as a council are not in a position of having more substantive discussions of that hearing. That hearing is done and closed insofar as the application that you had on that evening. You can only go back in time now to the moment at which that motion by Councilor Harmon was made, and that is entirely up to you, or in the first instance, to the four folks who voted no on the prevailing side of that motion. I know it's a lot of parliamentary procedure, and I apologize if it's confusing. I'm trying to lay out the roadmap as clearly as I can.
All right, thank you, Carmen. With that, do we have anybody from the prevailing side that would like to make a motion to reconsider?
I'll make a motion to reconsider the June 14th motion and vote on the 1628 Virginia Street final development plan.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli,
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Let's make a motion.
Yes, I would. I would like to move to withdraw my motion from the June 14th meeting concerning resolution number 12, series 2021 regarding 1628 Virginia Street, and amend to continue resolution number 12, series 2021 to July 12th, 2021 for consideration and vote.
Do I have a second?
I withdraw my second.
All right, discussion, council? Roll call, please.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli,
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. We will continue this to our July 12th meeting. Thanks, council. All right, we will move to our resolutions. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, resolution number 13, series 2021, a resolution approving the grant between the city of Idaho Springs and the State Board of the Great Outdoors Colorado Trust Fund concerning trail construction at Virginia Canyon Mountain Park.
And a second?
Second.
Discussion. I would just like to say that I'm glad that we've got this on our agenda tonight, so we can potentially get these things going. All right, roll call, please.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli,
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 14, do I have a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 14, series 2021, a resolution approving a parking lease with Clerk Creek School Districts, leasing to the city certain real property for public parking, tailgating, and picnicking.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. So we're very fortunate that John reached out to the school district and was able to talk to them and for the 4th of July, be able to have some additional space for people to tailgate and watch the fireworks. Everybody,
Are we advertising that? Are we putting it out there?
we haven't approved it yet. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it will be put out there.
It approves.
Yeah. So yeah,
Will we advertise?
it's gonna be crazy this 4th of July with limited parking. And,
Yeah,
we just really
I heard that
grateful
we're
to-
one of the only few.
that are being able to do it. Yeah. If the sheriff doesn't call. All right. Roll call, please.
Michael Hillman,
Y'all are
Yes.
7 old white.
Excuse me,
men
sir.
who have been very
Excuse me, sir.
disrespectful to
You're
me,
interrupting him.
so I'm
Chief,
not worried about my.
Chief.
I'm out of here, man.
Thank you.
Super disrespectful.
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli,
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. All right, we'll move down to our ordinance first reading. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve ordinance number 11, series 2021, and ordinance zoning the property recently annexed to the city as the cemetery annexation to the city of Idaho Springs as park and recreation, parentheses P, under the city's zoning regulations.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second on the table. Discussion. As you know, this is a first reading, so we will have time to have a work session if there's any discussion that council would like to have about this and how this rezoning, this annexation and rezoning has worked. So,
And Mayor,
Carmen?
just to be clear, as with any property, even though this is city property, there will be a public hearing on second reading as well, as you mentioned, Mayor. So this is to kick off the process to sort of put this under formal consideration, and you'll have a public hearing on second reading and get more detailed information, council.
Thank you, Carmen.
Great.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Michael Hillman.
Yes.
Scott Canal.
Yes.
Jeff Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
Jim Curtis.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Okay, we don't have any second ordinance readings. I believe Andy contacted Lorraine,
Yes.
and we're gonna postpone our financials for next meeting. And we will move down to the city administrator with some action items that he is proposing. Andy?
Yes, Mayor and Council, there are 4 action items requested.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve a grant agreement with the State of Colorado Department of Natural Resources, Colorado Parks and Wildlife in the amount of $249,487 with a cash match of $36,375 for the construction of hiking trails in Virginia Canyon Mountain Park. The match will be funded with $29,347.63 in proceeds from the Feast on the Creek fundraisers, with up to $7,027.37 from the grant matches line item 2100-6200.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bowman, second. Discussion. Roll call.
Michael Hillman.
Yes.
Scott Canal.
Yes.
Jeff Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
Jim Curtis.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right. Second action item. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve a letter agreement from JVA in the amount of $55,900 for final construction documents, bidding assistance, and construction contract administration, engineering, in the amount of I'm sorry, I lost my place here.
Engineering line.
Yeah, in engineering, amount of $55,900 for final construction documents, bidding assistance, and construction contract.
You missed one, Chuck. I'm
Sorry.
buddy.
Rather, it's services for public works facilities, project 1 from engineering line item 2100-5103.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. So just so you know, if you remember, we went after $1 million grant to help us get this project going. We were notified that I believe it was $400,000 that they were going to award us. And I didn't think that it was fiscally responsible for us to come up with the rest of the $1 million when we already have some funds invested into that project. We were advised by DOLA that we should come in as under a non-competitive grant and break this down into 2 projects, potentially 3. We were awarded $200,000, and we would like to get this up and going and get phase 1 going. But it will require to take the documents that they have prepared and break them down into 2 separate projects. So that's what this fund's for. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Michael Hillman.
Yes.
Scott Canal.
Yes.
Jeff Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
Jim Curtis.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
And we have another motion.
Okay, I would move to approve a proposal from HDR in the service, HDR in the service for the Public Works Facility Project.
You will.
I'm going up.
You have to separate these better on the agenda. Start over, please.
Don't ever do that many again, Andy.
Yeah, start over.
Okay, move to approve a proposal from HDR in the amount of $57,358 for program management and project development for the Idaho Springs Mobility Hub and Parking Structure from engineering line item 2100 to 53.
And you have a second.
5103, I'm sorry.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. So the reason that we contacted HDR to help us with this is, as you know, we have $4 million participation from CDOT to get our mobility hub built. With that, we're also able to borrow against that $4 million to get the site planning, development, conceptual design, aesthetics, everything going. CDOT sent us, Andy, myself, and others at City Hall, the documents that needed to start being filled out to make this happen and enter into an IGA with CDOT. And about, 2 minutes into it, my eyes were glazed over because it was a whole different language. We knew that we were getting into something that we, as the city and individually, had no experience doing. And as much work that HDR has participated in partnership with Idaho Springs, and even conceptual stuff that we weren't even charged for around that parking deck area, even some designs that they brought in off the cuff, we felt that they would be the right people to entertain and bring on to help us get through this. The other thing that will be beneficial, not only does HDR know our community very well, but they are part of our downtown master plan. So it really ties into the downtown master plan, the mobility hub, and everything. So this is the proposal that they gave us. I think it will be very good, and hopefully this gets approved. Any other discussion?
I think this may show that we are moving forward, and while we may not be spending the 4 million, I know the fuse is short and CEDA wants to see improvement.
Right, especially with the pandemic and
Yeah.
the call from CDOT to see if we were still moving forward with this project, and stating to them, and Andy and I have meetings with them about every other week just to stay on top of our progress, our next steps, and making sure that the things that Walker is promoting, helping us do the design, and having CDOT being willing to look at CDOT right of way that they can deed over to us or allow us to use to build this mobility hub. Anybody else? Roll call.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Doug Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Arthur Cavalli,
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right. And we have one more motion, action item.
I'll move to approve a proposal from Reftelus in the amount of $31,951 to update the water enterprise financial plan, update the customer class cost of service analysis, and develop 2022 rate recommendations from other professional fees, line item 5100-5108 and 5200-5108.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion. So just to let everyone, Reftelus is the firm that has done our previous rate studies, and I just wanted to see if the repairs of some of our water and sewer, the infiltration, if that has helped our costs go down. Also, council, as we've been talking about, entertaining a ballot measure of maybe 0.5% sales tax to help offset our capital improvements, to hopefully come up with a number that we would not have to, or even potentially maybe decrease water rates going out several years into the future. The numbers with the 0.5%, we kind of figured was going to be about 400,000 a year or close to it. And we would really like to get in a position and put this before the voters to see if they would accept us out of this 0.5% sales tax to help us pay for $11 million project that we're halfway through with. Project 1's done, but project 2. So I think this would be a good hand reach for our community. I know that they've taken a big hit. All of us have taken a big hit with our water rates over the last several years, mainly to do with the infrastructure and the upgrades at our wastewater plant and some of the other capital improvements that we had deferred several years out to keep those rates down a little bit and the increase not so much. So we will have, this is to have Reftelus to work with us, come up with that financial plan and take a look at and see how we can help the community out and prepare us, the ballot language basically to go in, because we're going to have to sell this to the community if we want to get the community on board of accepting another sales tax. And there's, what I can tell, there's probably about 10 hands reaching out this November for, for sales tax, the state, the county, school district. So it's gonna be a pretty crazy ballot this November.
Did you say that infrastructure repairs, this is something that do analysis on how much water we're treating or?
Right, to see, they'll look at the production and the treatment. That's how we identify if we've got a leak
And
somewhere.
they forecast out.
And then, right, and with that, hopefully I know we had a big gap like this. We produced this much, but we're only getting this much through our sewer plant.
Right.
We've hoped that with all of our repairs, that's closed in a little bit. Once we do a study, we may say, hey, we're our gap that we're producing 100,000 gallons and only receiving 1,000 gallons. Maybe it's closer, and that would trigger something that could help us reduce the rates or not increase the amounts that we have been increasing.
Those numbers obviously are different in the summertime versus winter time because of irrigation of lawns, right?
Yeah, and we take the what is that?
Summer averaging.
Averaging into consideration with all that, absolutely. Any other questions, discussion?
I'm just wondering how much money we spent treating infiltration water through the years. A fortune.
If I may, Mayor, that number is considerably closer since we've made repairs. This not only is just for water that's being produced, this is for infrastructure as far as replacing the water line from here to the water treatment plant. The water line that goes to the Soda Hill tank was put in 80 years ago, maybe. All of that has to be replaced. Sewer lines, we still need new sewer lines on Virginia, Montaigne, Pine Slope, everywhere. That all comes out of the enterprise fund, that portion of it for the infrastructure. So this just isn't for treating that amount of water. It's for future repairs and future expansion and that type of stuff.
It just seems like a lot of complexity to doing a study like that.
Yeah, because
It's a lot of.
when we get our presentations, we're all sitting there with our eyes glazed over about 10 minutes into, except John, because John knows it. Okay, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Michael Hillman.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Doug Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Andy, you were 4 for 4. Whew. All right, let's move down to Diane, City Clerk.
Mayor and Council, I have my staff report. I did have one item for discussion if you wanted to talk about that tonight, or
Sure.
whether council wanted to reinstate the late fees on water and sewer accounts.
Oh, yes.
I would say, let's wait a few more months. And let's let the people are still on unemployment. I think I said that pretty correct. But people are still on unemployment. I think with council agreeing, maybe a few more months or 2 billing cycles before we start implementing those.
I agree. Yep.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, it's still unsettled very much.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Any other questions for Diane? All right. You say how much longer you got, Diane? She can recite it.
128 days.
But nobody's counting.
Nobody's counting. All right, thanks, Diane. Okay, let's move to PD. Chief?
Mayor, council submitted the report, no action items. I just add that we do have an officer that is going to be attending the services tomorrow for the officer that was killed in.
All right. Any questions for the chief? Thanks for all the incident reports that you gave us. Keeping us updated on that.
Yeah, that's good, actually.
Anybody have any other questions for chief?
You have additional staffing for the 4th of July, I think, or?
Through you, Mayor, yes, we have the rangers that are going to be helping us. There's 4 that are going to do a daytime shift, and then there's going to be 4 that will be there for the evening shift. I have a code enforcement officer kind of doing a split shift that day as well, and I also will be here doing sort of a split shift and here, kind of get things going, and then I'll come back in the evening. And then I did reach out to the sheriff, and they've agreed to also supply a one deputy to assist us at no cost, so that was really nice. So we'll have a fair number of resources here for the event, so I feel comfortable about that.
Great. Thank you, Chief. One thing that I will say is we are under the level 1 fire ban. With that, the conditions from the sheriff are we have to do some pre-firework things up on the hill. I talked with Deputy Chief Jeremy Jones, and asked him if he thought out of our volunteer staff if they could take care of that for us. He agreed that they would go up there, and since Jeremy, they're gonna go up there, they're gonna mow. They said, oh yeah, we know what to do. We go up there and mow the hill, then we water it down, then we stay around. We have a brush truck up there so John Bordoni doesn't have to fight little grass fires up there. And so it was a very positive and respectful response from the fire authority. So I was very pleased with that.
And you apparently have connections with Mother Nature as well.
You didn't see my rain dance?
No, I haven't. I don't want to either.
Yeah.
We did.
But yeah, we've gotten some moisture. It looks like we're gonna get some more. So that's, as long as it's not doing it on the 4th.
Yeah.
Rain all you want till the 4th, and
Yeah.
let's get it done.
Hopefully we don't get any of these little sideshows going on from the.
Actually, we talked about that today in our staff meeting, and we're gonna be keeping an eye on that, because I questioned, are there any legal fireworks that we can shoot off? And she said, not under level 1 fire ban. So, all right. Anything else for the chief? All right, thanks, Chief. We'll move to Public Works, Water and Wastewater. John?
Mayor and council, you have my staff report with no request for action.
All right, any questions for John?
Just thanks for working on all those repairs. That makes a big difference.
The repairs, he had his crews out there, painting curbs.
Yeah.
Bob was out there. Also completed the striping in our parking lot that CDOT didn't do. So I know the guys have been out there working really hard and taking care of stuff. So thanks, John, for making that happen.
We will be painting more curbs, but if you didn't know, there is a national traffic paint shortage also.
Really?
I can only get 5 buckets of paint, which won't last as long. So their next shipment may be the middle of July before they get some more.
You know what the big shortage is? Chicken. You can't get chicken wings.
Yeah.
Chicken wings. There's a lot of
There's
wings.
a lot of
A
chicken.
lot of chickens out there, but
No wings.
Somebody said that there was a bad,
COVID got their wings, bud.
well, it was the eggs. The eggs are not producing good chickens, so. There were no legs, yeah, so, yeah, no legs and no wings, so we don't have.
So a couple of guys are out fixing potholes they saw today, so they're doing all kinds of stuff.
That was happening by your house, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
by Carlson there.
See, I drive around, and I see things.
You saw those potholes.
I know, I saw them fixing them.
Oh,
I don't see any potholes in the streets. All right, well, Bob, you got your history lesson ready for us?
I gotta tell you, well, we can do it, but if we want to get out of here, I'm good with that too.
All right,
you
okay.
can't do it in 2 parts.
Well, it's like a minute here, so, all right.
Go for it.
Okay, let's go for it then. So up here anyway, most people are not aware that in our cemetery, we do have a tombstone that is dedicated to a miner, Shadrach Gale, a Cornish miner who was a machinist actually at the mines, who lived here in town, who went down with the Titanic. And he and his brother, this is the tombstone up in our cemetery that was created or paid for by the Woodman of the World, I think was the lodge back in the day. And I think they're still around actually in a small scale. And he was a standing member, and so they put that particular tombstone in for him. Shadrach was in San Miguel County mining. He came to Idaho Springs, settled here. He had gone back to Cornwall on another ship, the Majestic, in June of 2011 to get one of his brothers. He had 7 siblings, and to come back to Idaho Springs to mine. Harry, very common name, and then we have his name. Anyway, they both went down with the Titanic. Neither body was recorded as being recovered. And so there is a tombstone in Cornwall that has both Harry and Shadrach Gale's name on there. And again, of course, no body. But that is in St. Andrew's Church, a really old church in Cornwall, England. And just as a final interesting note, the Historical Society here in Idaho Springs has been in touch with the Gale family off and on through the years. And so they kind of wonder how the tombstone is doing and that kind of thing. So one of the descendants there, Susan Gale, is someone who we're acquainted with. So connection to the Titanic, very direct connection.
And another interesting note is that Cornwall, which is where he is from, is where they had the G7.
Oh, yeah, the same, that's exactly right. I'd forgotten that.
See, we get Diane to do her history lesson.
Yeah. That's it.
All right, okay, council, anything under Mayor and Council? All right, it's 9 o'clock and the meeting's adjourned.